Welcome back to the Creativity Summit. Today we have Tiare Smith, a mixed media art journal artist and instructor. Born with art in her heart, she lost her way from her art for 18 years. It came back to her life in a burst of emotion and anxiety. She now aims to empower women to express and experience their art more freely. Her art reflects the wonderful women and sometimes men who inform and continue to inform her life. Her mom, neighbors, teachers, friends, Black women, strong women, smart women, beautiful women, loving women. Her art is inspired by positivity, peace, determination, growth, courage, happiness, love, and fight. It lies in happiness and hope and breathes color and love. She's been teaching in the industry for more than 17 years and has enjoyed teaching around the country from the East Coast to the West Coast. Her creations have been featured on HGTV as well as numerous magazines and creative blogs. She's designed for Deco Arts, Faber-Castell, Design Memory Crafts, and other well-known manufacturers. You can find her art on real wood plaques sold at Hallmark stores and Christian bookstores worldwide. Tiare Smith, thank you so much for being a part of this summit today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love your bio too.
Thank you.
So tell us how did you make your way into mixed media art?
Well, I've always been creative. So it's funny when I think about mixed media art, it actually kind of comes full circle. Because as a child, I always loved to color. I loved to play with paint and crayons and all kinds of different mediums. However, at some point in my life, I lost that. And when I was younger, I didn't know anything about mixed media, but I used to create things with string and with paint and with crayons. And so that would have been considered mixed media, but I was just playing and having fun.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in my life, which you read in my bio, I lost that. And I lost it because I took a drawing class in college. And I was just being sort of a smart butt, let's say, because I knew how to draw. So I thought it was my last year of college. So for me, I was like, I'm going to take a drawing class because that will be easy for me. And it'll be an easy A. I can draw. I can learn new concepts, whatever. It'll be easy. Well, it sucked the life out of me. It sucked the joy of drawing right out of me for 18 years. And that makes me sad. It always makes me a little emotional because I lost myself at that time. Mm-hmm. And it was just simply because when you take a class like that, you are given assignments to do what the instructor wants you to do. And you're not able to just follow your heart and create. Mm-hmm. And so I hated that very much. And I was probably a little foolish too, because there were so many things that I did learn in the class, but as a young adult, I just hated it. And it just sucked the life out of me. So I did not give up on creativity, which is a good thing. I started scrapbooking. I started making cards. So I always had a way to be creative, to express my memories, to save my memories, and to express myself creatively. Yeah. However, you watch people's social medias here and you start watching and you see all of these artists and you see people drawing, and I just felt inspired and I felt drawn to it. And I can't really say exactly what it was other than watching everyone else and just kind of feeling the desire welling up inside. Finally, one day I picked up a pencil and I was like, I just want to draw. And I did. And that day was crazy emotional. I cried like big baby, you know, like one of those hard cries, you know, when you're little and you're in trouble and you were like crying.
Yeah, I know those types of cries. What did that feel like for you to come home to that practice?
Well, of course, it was very freeing. I think the crying was like a release, and it was like it was a release and a welcoming at the same time. It was releasing whatever I left stored inside, that whole denial of self and what I love. And then it was also sort of welcome back to you, to being yourself and to doing what you love. So it was just very emotional, but it almost felt like this weight lifted
Mhm.
at that moment as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for
It's,
sharing that story. It's beautiful.
thank you.
What are some of the creative rituals that you employ on a regular basis to keep your creative fires stoked?
Well, that's a hard one. You know, and I know that I'm sure the audience can relate. That's hard because it ebbs and flows. Um, I do have different things that I like to do to try to keep it stoked, but there
Mhm.
are times when it just fizzles for a while.
Right.
And I will say that one of the things that I do allow is that fizzle. Some people fight really, really hard to keep creating. I don't always fight hard to keep creating, because I think we also need to allow ourselves that downtime, that time where you can lay on the couch, where you can veg out, where maybe you just go for a walk in nature, where you spend time with family and friends, and you're not thinking and creating and putting your emotions on a canvas or a page constantly. So I do allow myself the downtime. But the other things that I like to do to help me is I do like taking walks. I go for a walk. We have a swing and a lake in our neighborhood. I will go sit at the swing and just swing and enjoy it because it's right over the lake. So it's really an amazing experience to just sit there in nature and swing like a little kid. So I enjoy that. I enjoy laughter. So sometimes I will find sitcoms or silly movies that I love, because laughter, um, you know, it has a very positive effect on your brain. So I do that. And I like to travel and just enjoy new experiences. And those all inspire my creativity.
Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing that you don't force it. Because
Mhm.
I think so often we think it's almost like panic wells up in us if we feel that creative energy um, diminish. And there's something so powerful in you saying, no, just let it be for a little bit. Like it will come, but sometimes you just have to let it have a rest.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm wondering what you learned in that long period of not creating. Like what did that inform what you do now in any way?
You know what? It's so interesting. I haven't thought about that, but the truth is, what I do now has so much to do with my life and the people that have been in my life.
Mhm.
So that period of time for me, there had to be some gathering gathering of information, gathering of inspiration, gathering of stories, gathering of emotion. I really appreciate you asking me that question, because I really hadn't given it much thought, but sitting here thinking about it, that period of time was also a period of time where lots of change happened in my life. I moved from Chicago to Atlanta, leaving all of my friends and family behind with my husband, and coming here and finding a whole new support system. It was a time where I also I had a scrapbooking business. So this whole creative business venture started during that period of time. So there was a different type of creativity happening. I also started groups I have a group that's called Scraps of Color, which is intended for African American women who scrapbook, which has now evolved into who create, like creative African American women. So I built a sisterhood. So my art honors those women and honors those women not only from my past as a little girl and in high school, but through that whole transition, the women who have stood by my side, who have helped, who have gathered with me, and who have held me up. So I would say it was a time that allowed me to nurture a variety of relationships.
Wow, that's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. What is your definition of creativity?
Creativity is, I don't know that I have a true definition. I think it comes in so many forms, in so many ways. I think it's just simply about expressing ourselves, however that comes from us. We sometimes, I think, put too many labels, too many definitions on things. But creativity comes forth in your everyday life in so many ways, whether it's the way you decide to style your hair, to do your makeup, to wear your clothes, to decorate your home, to spend your time can be creative. So for me, creativity is more about just simple self-expression and letting it flow from you however it flows from you. Because it flows differently. Some it comes in music, some singing, some art, some just doodling with a pen. Some it's just simply fashion, or again, the way you decorate your home. So I think it's really about self-expression and letting that come out into the world and be seen.
I think that's an awesome definition of creativity. I always tell, I work with a lot of different people in my group coaching and my one-on-one coaching, and I always preach that we are all creative beings. Even if we don't think that we're artists, so to speak, we're all creative beings. Even if we do a spreadsheet a certain way, like that's a form of creativity. But it's just, I love that you're calling it self-expression.
Mm-hmm. It is.
That's wonderful.
It really is. Because we're all different. Even like my girlfriend, I have a good friend who loves to cook.
Yeah.
and my husband, it's so funny because she posts pictures on Instagram and he is just like loving it, and I'm like, well, don't get too happy. Your meals won't be that thing, because I can cook. I'm a good cook, but I don't love it like her. But we understand that her cooking is my art. It's the same. We just express differently. It's okay. We're both being creative in ways that we love.
Right.
It's all good.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a podcast. It's called the Yoke and Abundance Wise Women podcast. And on that podcast, one of the questions I always ask is, if you could go back and tell your high school graduating self one thing, what would you tell them? But I'm curious, the you that you were finishing that art class in college, if you could go back and tell her anything, what would you tell her?
I would tell her, don't quit. Don't allow that to steal your joy. You allowed several months of taking direction to steal your joy for 18 years. I would tell her to create, to play, to have fun, to keep your pencil in your hand. Because, really, okay, it was, I can't express how much I hated it. I remember that emotion very much. But the truth is, again, I had to take a direction just for a few months. I could have let that go and just went home and scribbled and released. I could have gone home and drawn anything that I wanted to, but instead I just clammed up, shut down, and let that be in control for 18 years. And I think I would tell that girl, don't stop. You know, this was a very small part of your life. There's so much more ahead of you. Express yourself, be creative, draw, have fun, and release.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
How do you use creativity to access your inner wise woman?
So I think of my creativity and putting my paint on the page. In my art, there's always a bit of freedom. A bit of freedom. Freedom is always a part of it. I strive to have more freedom and express freedom in my style. So I think, I don't know. I don't know. Like you say, how do I use creativity to access my inner wise woman? And so I don't know if it's accessing my inner wise woman or if it's more of my inner wise woman expressing myself onto the canvas.
Oh, yeah.
So I think of it, I think the opposite, because I want more freedom and I believe in more freedom and I'm taking more freedom in my life. And I think that comes out on the canvas.
Yeah.
So I think they may go back and forth because I think that, you know, again, as a woman of a certain age, freedom and not worrying about societal rules is a big deal to me right now. So I express that on a canvas. But then as I look back at my art, it also serves as a reminder to keep doing it and to keep being free and to be more free.
Ah, that's powerful. That's
Yeah.
really powerful.
Very interesting. I love your questions because I really, you know, we didn't practice.
Yeah.
You're making me think about these things more, and I'm enjoying that. I'm loving
Me too.
being able to think more about my art.
Well, and looking what's behind you, I see freedom and joy in all of those.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're talking about and what you're saying is important. It comes through in what you're doing.
Good, good. I always hope that. Good.
It does. It absolutely does. I mean, if you could share a piece of advice on how to use art to express an idea, what would you share?
Well, it's interesting because, of course, expressing ideas and the way that we communicate for each of us is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I always think about is following your heart and however your heart sees that. Because just like you said that you can see that, there are people who tell me what my art means to them, and what they see in it without me saying or sharing what I've just shared with you. And when they come and they use the same words as I use to describe it, it feels really good because I feel like I am speaking and living my truth, and that is coming forward. So when I think about expressing ideas, I think you kind of just have to let it come from you and from your heart, and however that comes, you know, whether it's just scribbling out something or doing images with big afros, whatever it is, I think you kind of have to just let it be, let it ride however it comes out. And hopefully your idea and that feeling, that emotion, that expression, that idea is laid out on the canvas and people get it.
Mm, yes. Thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you for sharing that. And I know that you have a gift for those watching today. Do you want to tell them what that is and how they can access it?
Absolutely. So I have my Embrace Your Art School. So it's hosted on Teachable, Embrace Your Art. And I have what I call my creative play. Um, it's just a series of 3 simple. Okay, I don't like to use the word simple because simple is not always simple to everyone, but they are intended to ease people into creating. Let's say that. So there are 3 lessons that are fun lessons, and they are lessons that I encourage freedom and easing into creating. And I hope that they inspire people to play, to have fun, to create and express themselves in an artistic way, a creative way with paint and uh, other mediums. Um, so I, of course, am going to provide the link to that to you, and they'll be able to access it through that link, and they're absolutely free. And I just want people to go enjoy them and hopefully to be able to embrace their inner artist just a little bit more.
Thank you. And we'll put that link underneath this interview. But thank you so much for sharing your wise words with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been my pleasure.